Welcome back to the audio bookshelf. We hope you enjoy the book, and please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to get our latest content. Please enjoy. The Roman Empire, Birth to Death. Presented by Theo E. David from the audio bookshelf. Chapter 1, The Roots of Rome. The story of Rome begins long before its legendary founding in 753 BCE. Nestled along the banks of the Tiber River in central Italy, early Rome was shaped by its geography, a blend of rolling hills, fertile plains, and natural harbors that made it an ideal location for settlement and trade. It was here, on the Palatine Hill, that a small collection of pastoral communities began to form, eventually giving rise to one of history's greatest civilizations. Roman tradition credits its birth to the myth of Romulus and Remus, twin brothers abandoned as infants and raised by a she-wolf. This mythological tale captures the imagination, but archaeological evidence provides a more grounded picture. By the 8th century BCE, the area was inhabited by Latin-speaking tribes who lived in huts and farmed the surrounding lands. These humble beginnings hint at Rome's eventual trajectory, an empire that would blend the influence of its neighbors while forging its unique identity. The Etruscans, a sophisticated culture to the north of Rome, played a pivotal role in the city's development. From them, the Romans adopted crucial elements of urban planning, religious rituals, and even their alphabet, which was derived from the Greeks. The Etruscans also introduced engineering marvels like the arch, which would later become a defining feature of Roman architecture. Rome's early kings, 7 in total according to legend, ruled during this formative period. They oversaw the transformation of Rome from a collection of hilltop villages into a city-state with a rudimentary political structure and organized society. Among these rulers, King Servius Tullius is credited with creating one of Rome's first census systems, laying the groundwork for its military and administrative organization. This early monarchy, however, came to an abrupt end in 509 BCE with the overthrow of the last king, Tarquin the Proud. His despotic rule and disregard for the Senate triggered a revolt, leading to the establishment of a new political system that would shape Rome for centuries, the Republic. Chapter 2, The Birth of the Republic. The Roman Republic was built on the ideals of shared power and accountability. In theory, no single individual would hold too much authority, a reaction to the perceived excesses of the monarchy. At its heart was a unique system of checks and balances designed to prevent tyranny. 2 consuls, elected annually, served as the highest officials, each wielding executive power. Below them, the Senate, composed largely of patricians, or members of Rome's elite, advised on policy and controlled finances. This aristocratic dominance led to significant inequalities, leaving Rome's plebeians, or common citizens, with limited political influence. These inequalities fueled the conflict of the orders, a centuries-long struggle between the plebeians and patricians. The plebeians, through persistent effort, won critical rights, including the establishment of the office of tribune. These officials, elected by the plebeians, could veto legislation they deemed harmful. This hard-fought victory marked a turning point, giving Rome a political structure that, while imperfect, allowed for gradual inclusivity. The Republic also laid the foundation for Rome's military might. Its armies, organized into legions, were disciplined and adaptable. Early campaigns focused on unifying the Italian peninsula, with Rome forming alliances and conquering rival states. By the 4th century BCE, Rome had established itself as a regional power, its influence extending far beyond its city walls. As Rome grew, so did the challenges it faced. Its ambitions brought it into conflict with powerful rivals, most notably Carthage, a wealthy maritime city-state in North Africa. This rivalry would culminate in a series of wars that defined Rome's expansion and reshaped the Mediterranean world. Continue. Chapter 3, The Punic Wars. Rome's confrontation with Carthage began in 264 BCE with the First Punic War. At stake was control over Sicily, a fertile and strategically important island. At the time, Carthage possessed a powerful navy, while Rome was relatively inexperienced at sea. Undeterred, Rome rapidly built a fleet and adapted its military strategies, ultimately developing the corvus, a boarding device that allowed its soldiers to turn naval battles into infantry combat. After more than 2 decades of conflict, Rome emerged victorious, securing Sicily as its first overseas province. The Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BCE, was even more dramatic, bringing the legendary Carthaginian general Hannibal to the forefront. Hannibal's bold strategy involved leading his army, including war elephants, across the Alps to invade Italy. For years, he ravaged the Italian countryside, defeating Roman forces in several major battles, including the devastating loss at Cannae in 216 BCE. Despite Hannibal's successes, Rome's resilience proved its greatest asset. Under the leadership of Scipio Africanus, the Romans launched a counterattack on Carthage itself, forcing Hannibal to retreat to defend his homeland. In 202 BCE, at the Battle of Zama, Scipio decisively defeated Hannibal, marking the end of Carthage's dominance. The Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BCE, was less a war than a final act of vengeance. Fearful of Carthage's potential resurgence, Rome launched a brutal campaign to destroy the city entirely. After a 3-year siege, Carthage was razed to the ground, and its survivors were sold into slavery. The victory cemented Rome's control over the western Mediterranean and marked the beginning of its transformation into a true empire. Chapter 4: Internal Struggles and the Decline of the Republic. Rome's expansion brought immense wealth, but it also deepened divisions within society. The spoils of war enriched the elite, while the lower classes faced increased hardship. Small farmers, unable to compete with large estates worked by slaves, lost their land and flocked to the cities, creating a growing underclass. This economic disparity fueled political instability. Reformers like the Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, sought to address these inequalities through land redistribution and social programs. Their efforts, however, were met with fierce opposition from the Senate, leading to their violent deaths. The fate of the Gracchi highlighted the fragility of the Republic and the growing reliance on violence to settle political disputes. Meanwhile, ambitious generals began to exploit the Republic's weaknesses. Men like Marius and Sulla used their military successes to gain political power, often at the expense of traditional institutions. Their rivalries culminated in a series of civil wars that further eroded the Republic's stability. It was during this turbulent period that Julius Caesar rose to prominence. A gifted military commander and politician, Caesar formed the first triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus, consolidating power and bypassing the Senate. His conquest of Gaul brought him immense wealth and popularity, but it also alarmed his rivals. In 49 BCE, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army, a direct challenge to the authority of the Senate. His bold move plunged Rome into another civil war, which ended with Caesar's triumph. Declaring himself dictator for life, Caesar implemented sweeping reforms, but his concentration of power made him a target. On March 15, 44 BCE, he was assassinated by a group of senators, including his friend Brutus, who sought to restore the Republic. Caesar's death, however, did not save the Republic. Instead, it ushered in a new round of chaos and set the stage for the rise of the Roman Empire. Chapter 5: The Age of Augustus. The aftermath of Caesar's assassination saw the rise of his heir, Octavian, later known as Augustus. Initially, Octavian formed the Second Triumvirate with Mark Antony and Lepidus, dividing Rome's territories among them. However, this alliance quickly dissolved into conflict. Mark Antony's alliance with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, became a focal point of tension. Octavian capitalized on this, portraying Antony as a traitor to Rome. The conflict culminated in the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, where Octavian's forces defeated Antony and Cleopatra. With their deaths, Octavian became the unchallenged ruler of Rome. In 27 BCE, Octavian declared the restoration of the Republic, but this was largely a facade. In reality, he had established himself as Rome's first emperor, taking the title Augustus. His reign marked the beginning of the Pax Romana, a period of relative peace and stability that lasted for over 2 centuries. Augustus restructured Rome's political system, balancing power between himself and the Senate while maintaining the illusion of republican governance. He also embarked on an ambitious program of public works, building roads, aqueducts, and monuments that showcased Rome's grandeur. His rule set the template for future emperors, blending autocracy with traditional Roman values. Under Augustus, Rome's boundaries expanded further, reaching as far as the Rhine and Danube rivers in Europe, the deserts of North Africa, and the lush lands of the Near East. These territories were integrated into a vast network of provinces, connected by roads and governed by Roman law. The stability brought by Augustus allowed Roman culture to flourish. Writers like Virgil, Horace, and Ovid produced literary masterpieces, while architects and engineers built enduring structures like the Pantheon and the Colosseum. Rome had truly entered its golden age. Continue. Chapter 6: The Expansion of the Empire. With Augustus laying the groundwork, Rome embarked on an era of unparalleled expansion and consolidation. His successors, often referred to as the Julio-Claudian emperors, oversaw the empire's growth, even as they contended with internal challenges. Tiberius, Augustus's adopted son and successor, maintained the stability of the empire but was known for his aloof and authoritarian demeanor. His reign marked the beginning of a shift, as emperors gradually wielded more autocratic power. Caligula, Tiberius's successor, brought a period of infamy to the imperial office. Known for his erratic behavior and extravagant spending, his rule ended in his assassination by the Praetorian Guard. Despite his short reign, his excesses highlighted the dangers of absolute power. Claudius, an unlikely emperor chosen after Caligula's death, proved to be an able administrator. He expanded the empire significantly, annexing Britain in 43 CE and fortifying Rome's borders. However, his reliance on freedmen and his turbulent family life led to political intrigues that overshadowed his accomplishments. Nero, the last of the Julio-Claudian line, became synonymous with decadence and tyranny. His reign saw the Great Fire of Rome in 64 CE, which devastated much of the city. Nero's persecution of Christians in the aftermath of the fire marked one of the first instances of religious oppression in Roman history. His death in 68 CE plunged the empire into a brief period of chaos known as the Year of the Four Emperors. Out of this turmoil emerged the Flavian dynasty, which restored order and ushered in a new phase of imperial stability. Vespasian, the founder of the dynasty, focused on rebuilding Rome and consolidating its finances. He began construction of the Colosseum, a symbol of Roman engineering and spectacle. Titus, Vespasian's son, presided over the completion of the Colosseum and dealt with significant crises, including the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE, which destroyed Pompeii and Herculaneum. Despite these challenges, Titus was remembered as a benevolent ruler. Domitian, the last Flavian emperor, was a more divisive figure. While he strengthened the empire's borders and centralized administration, his authoritarian tendencies alienated the Senate. His assassination in 96 CE brought an end to the dynasty, paving the way for a new era. Chapter 7: The Pax Romana. The Pax Romana, or Roman peace, reached its zenith under the rule of the five good emperors, Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius. These leaders were chosen not through hereditary succession but by merit, a practice that ensured stability and competence. Trajan, remembered as one of Rome's greatest emperors, expanded the empire to its largest territorial extent. His campaigns in Dacia, modern-day Romania, brought immense wealth to Rome, funding monumental projects like Trajan's Forum and Trajan's Column, which celebrated his military victories. Hadrian, Trajan's successor, shifted focus from expansion to consolidation. He strengthened the empire's borders, most famously constructing Hadrian's Wall in Britain. A lover of art and architecture, Hadrian traveled extensively, leaving a legacy of cultural and architectural achievements, including the reconstruction of the Pantheon. Antoninus Pius presided over a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity. His reign was marked by the absence of military conflicts and the promotion of legal and social reforms. Under his leadership, Rome flourished, with advancements in art, science, and engineering. Marcus Aurelius, the last of the 5 good emperors, was both a philosopher and a ruler. His meditations, written during his military campaigns, offer timeless reflections on duty, leadership, and stoicism. However, his reign was marred by external threats, particularly invasions by Germanic tribes, which signaled the beginning of the empire's long struggle to defend its borders. The death of Marcus Aurelius in 180 CE marked the end of Rome's Golden Age. His decision to name his son Commodus as his successor proved disastrous, as Commodus's erratic rule plunged the empire into decline. Chapter 8: The Crisis of the 3rd Century. By the 3rd century CE, Rome faced a series of crises that threatened its very existence. Political instability, economic troubles, and external invasions converged to create what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century. The empire was plagued by rapid turnover in leadership, with over 20 emperors ruling in a span of 50 years. Many of these rulers came to power through military coups, and their short reigns were often marked by corruption and incompetence. Externally, Rome faced pressure from multiple fronts. The Germanic tribes to the north launched repeated invasions, while the eastern provinces were threatened by the Sassanid Empire. In 260 CE, the Roman Emperor Valerian was captured by the Sassanids, a humiliating blow that underscored the empire's vulnerability. Internally, the economy suffered from hyperinflation, exacerbated by a reliance on debased coinage. The urban population dwindled as people fled to the countryside, seeking refuge from the chaos. Amidst this turmoil, strong leaders emerged to restore order. Aurelian, who ruled from 270 to 275 CE, reunited the fractured empire and strengthened its borders. His construction of the Aurelian walls around Rome symbolized the city's need for defense in an increasingly hostile world. Despite these efforts, the crisis highlighted the empire's growing challenges. The once unassailable Roman Empire was now a shadow of its former self, struggling to maintain its unity and influence. Continue. Chapter 9: The Rise of Diocletian and the Division of the Empire. As the Roman Empire teetered on the brink of collapse, a new leader emerged to stabilize and reform it. Diocletian, who became emperor in 284 CE, introduced sweeping changes that transformed Rome's political and administrative structure. Recognizing that the empire was too vast and complex to be governed by one person, Diocletian implemented the tetrarchy, or rule of 4. Under this system, the empire was divided into eastern and western regions, each governed by an emperor, Augustus, and a junior co-emperor, Caesar. Diocletian ruled the eastern half, while his colleague Maximian oversaw the western half. This division was meant to improve governance, streamline decision-making, and strengthen the empire's defenses against external threats. Diocletian also undertook economic reforms to address the rampant inflation that had plagued Rome during the crisis of the 3rd century. He introduced price controls and restructured the tax system, efforts that, while imperfect, provided temporary relief. However, Diocletian's reign was not without controversy. His persecution of Christians, known as the Great Persecution, marked one of the darkest periods for the early Church. Diocletian sought to restore traditional Roman religious practices, believing that the empire's troubles stemmed from a decline in piety. This policy, however, failed to suppress Christianity, which continued to grow and gain followers. In 305 CE, Diocletian made the unprecedented decision to abdicate the throne, retiring to his palace in modern-day Croatia. His reforms temporarily stabilized the empire, but the tetrarchy soon unraveled, leading to renewed conflict and power struggles. Chapter 10: Constantine and the Christian Empire. The early 4th century saw the rise of Constantine the Great, one of Rome's most influential leaders. Following a series of civil wars, Constantine emerged as the sole ruler of the Roman Empire in 324 CE. His reign marked a turning point in Roman history, as he embraced Christianity and laid the foundation for a Christian empire. Constantine's conversion to Christianity was both a personal and political decision. According to legend, he experienced a vision before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 CE, in which he saw a cross with the words, "In this sign, you will conquer." Inspired by this vision, he adopted the Christian symbol and won a decisive victory. In 313 CE, Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, granting religious tolerance to Christians and ending centuries of persecution. Under his patronage, Christianity flourished, with churches being built across the empire and bishops gaining prominence in political and social affairs. Constantine also transformed Rome's geography and governance. Recognizing the strategic importance of the eastern provinces, he established a new capital at Byzantium, renaming it Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. The city became a center of culture, trade, and Christianity, eclipsing Rome itself in importance. Despite his achievements, Constantine's reign was not without challenges. He faced resistance from traditionalists who opposed the growing influence of Christianity, as well as conflicts within the church itself. To address theological disputes, he convened the First Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, which produced the Nicene Creed, a defining statement of Christian doctrine. Constantine's death in 337 CE marked the end of an era, but his legacy endured. By aligning the Roman Empire with Christianity, he set the stage for its transformation into a fundamentally different kind of state. Chapter 11: The Fall of the Western Empire. The 4th and 5th centuries were a time of profound change for the Roman Empire. While the eastern half, centered on Constantinople, remained relatively stable, the western half faced mounting pressures that would ultimately lead to its collapse. One of the most significant challenges was the migration and invasion of Germanic tribes. The Visigoths, led by Alaric, sacked Rome in 410 CE, a shocking event that symbolized the empire's vulnerability. Other groups, such as the Vandals and the Ostrogoths, carved out territories within the empire's borders, further eroding its authority. Economic decline and political instability compounded these external threats. The Western Empire struggled to maintain its infrastructure and military, as dwindling resources and corruption sapped its strength. Meanwhile, internal divisions and weak leadership made it increasingly difficult to respond to crises. In 476 CE, the last Roman emperor in the West, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. This event is traditionally seen as the fall of the Western Roman Empire, marking the end of ancient Rome and the beginning of the medieval era. However, the Eastern Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive for nearly 1,000 years. It preserved Roman traditions, law, and culture, ensuring that the legacy of Rome would endure long after its political collapse. Chapter 12: Rome's Enduring Legacy. Though the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 CE, the impact of Rome endures to this day. Its legal system, epitomized by the 12 Tables and later codifications, forms the basis of many modern legal traditions. Latin, the language of Rome, became the foundation of the Romance languages and influenced countless others. Rome's architectural and engineering innovations, from aqueducts to amphitheaters, set standards that continue to inspire. The Roman road network, once spanning thousands of miles, symbolized the connectivity and efficiency that defined the empire at its height. Culturally, Rome bequeathed to the world a wealth of literature, philosophy, and art. The works of Virgil, Cicero, and Seneca remain studied and admired, while Roman principles of governance and citizenship continue to inform modern democracies. Perhaps Rome's greatest legacy lies in its ability to adapt and evolve. From a small settlement on the Palatine Hill to a sprawling empire that reshaped the ancient world, Rome's story is one of resilience, ambition, and innovation. The Roman Empire, birth to death, reminds us of the complexities of power, the challenges of governance, and the enduring impact of human creativity and determination. Thanks for listening, and please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and also click the small bell icon to receive a notification every time a new free audiobook has arrived. Thanks again.